Tess from Ruby Tuesday Art and welcome to today's tutorial. We are going to be painting really lovely loose Hi, I'm Tess from Ruby Tuesday Art and welcome to today's tutorial all about autumn leaves. We're going to be painting a range of really beautiful autumn leaves that I hope you can see. Yeah, we're going to be having a go at those and painting with some really beautiful warm colors like red, orange and yellow. And if you have a go at this tutorial and you're having a little bit of trouble with the colors, make sure that you go back and watch my color theory video because I think that will help you a lot. So let's get started.
Alright, I'm grabbing my size 12 round brush and picking up a deep red that I've mixed up earlier. And I'm putting some water on my brush to dilute it a bit and painting a C curve and then another C curve mirroring that. So that's the middle section of the leaf, and I'm just adding another brush stroke to it just to widen it up a bit. And then I'm going to work my way around the leaf with this same technique. So two C curves mirroring each other. And if you're thinking that I'm moving a bit fast and you're not sure what's happening and what a C curve is, go back and watch my brush strokes tutorial, which I'll link here for you. And I talk about C curves there and it'll all make a lot more sense. So I've done this C curve technique the whole way around the leaf and then added a stem with just the very tip of the brush. And while the leaf is still wet, I'm dabbing in some really light yellowy orange to create a bit of variety. And this is the wet on wet technique that I'm using. So while that leaf is still wet, the paint that I've just put on with those C curves is still wet, I'm dabbing in also some more dark red and some of that yellow that you saw, just to create some really beautiful variety and some of that flowing effect that you get with watercolor. Now I did add a little bit too much on the bottom left, so I just picked up some of that paint with the brush just to dry it off a bit. Now I'm repeating this same process with the size 12 brush still, but on a smaller scale, just to show you that you can achieve a lot of variety with just one brush. So I'm just using the tip of the brush for this rather than really using the belly of the brush. So I'm just working with the very end of it just to create a really small version of that same leaf that we just painted. And again, that was using those C curves. Now I'm dabbing in some yellow, orange again, and some more of the dark red, using that wet on wet technique once again. And I also just grabbed some brown off screen, sorry. I grabbed a really dark brown because I noticed that on the leaf there's some really dark sections and I thought that a dark brown would work really, really well. So I'm just dabbing that in too. And now the materials that I'm using are all from my watercolor kits that I have available on my website, and the link is in the video description. But the brushes, the paper, the paint, it's all from my watercolor kit. So I'm just washing off my brush so that I don't put it down with paint on it. And I'm moving down to my size 0 brush, which is also from my kit, just to show you another version of this exact same leaf but on a teeny tiny scale with, I guess, more delicate and precise kind of details. You'll notice that the point on the tips of the leaf, those points are really delicate and quite lovely and precise. So I was able to achieve those details because I'm using such a tiny, tiny brush. And I'm just repeating the same thing again, dabbing in those other colors, doing the wet on wet technique, fixing up the tip of that leaf just with the point of the brush. And I really wanted to show you that you can do this same leaf on a range of scales, a range of sizes, and just muck around with the materials that you have. And now I'm just going to dry this. Alright, now with the magical power of video editing, my leaves are dry and you can see that really beautiful effect that we achieved with wet into wet technique. Alright, so still using my teeny tiny size 0 brush, I'm going to add some details to these leaves. You'll notice that the veins on the leaf that I'm using for reference are actually white, but I'm using my artistic license to paint them in a dark red instead, because it's easier, to be honest. I'll talk about painting with white another day, but basically I've decided that it's easier to paint it with this deep red, and so all I'm doing is painting some long, thin lines up the middle of each section of the leaf, and then painting little teeny tiny lines coming off those main sections. So you'll be able to see it better as I work my way around the leaf. But I'm working quite quickly using just the tip of the brush for these veins, and I'm making sure that they're not too neat, because as I always say this, the messier the better. And I probably sound like a broken record if you listen to or watch all of my videos, but honestly, the messier the better. So if you just try and relax and let go a bit and don't try and aim for perfect, it doesn't exist. Anyway, especially like out in nature, if you pick up an autumn leaf, there is not going to be a perfect line on there, or there's going to be imperfections. It's not going to be completely symmetrical. So that's what we're actually trying to achieve with our artwork, is imperfection. And I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I hope that I'm encouraging you to let go and just sort of chill and relax a bit and just sort of see what happens. But wiggly lines are awesome. Mess is great. You'll see that my lines are actually broken, some of them. They don't even all touch each other. And that's deliberate. So just try and just enjoy the process and have fun with it. And don't worry too much about, if your lines are wiggly, because it's actually a good thing. So I'm just using the tip of my size 0 brush to do this. I'm getting a bit more concentrated paint on my brush to add in some darker sections, letting some bits just do what they want, basically. And I've just added in a little bit of dark brown on the tip of that leaf, just because I wanted to. So I'm repeating this same process on the smaller leaves, using just the tip of the brush again, and doing the larger lines in each section, then with little lines coming off them. Not doing a great job of describing what I'm doing, but you can see pretty much it's just a matter of adding little messy lines in each section of the leaf. I was going to say quadrant, but that's if there's 4, and there's 5 sections on these leaves. And I'm adding a bit of shadow on this little stem, and I did do that on the other leaves and forgot to sort of mention what I was doing, but basically I've just gotten a really dark red and done a line up the stem of each leaf to create a shadow effect. And now I'm just adding a little bit more yellow orange just to add a bit of variety in there. This is wet on dry technique, because the main section of the leaf that I'm painting onto now is dry. And so that yellow is not going to flow like it was before, and it's just going to kind of sit on top of what we already painted. And now I'm going to be painting some more leaves. I'm doing the same thing again, but with yellow, just to show you a different version of the same kind of leaf in a different color. And I'm using my size 0 brush for this still, so I've got those really fine points happening. And I'm using the wet on wet technique, or wet into wet technique, to dab in some red into the yellow. And it's already got some really beautiful effects happening. And I really encourage you to just experiment and have a go. Paint your leaves in different colors. Maybe try painting one in brown You could even paint one that's green and dab in some yellow like you would see at the start of autumn, that kind of thing. Or just go outside if it's autumn wherever you are now and have a look and find some leaves and use them as inspiration. These are just some leaves that I actually found in our backyard. So now I'm doing the same thing, painting with my orange, just repeating the same sort of leaf. And I encourage you to have a go at painting the same sort of thing over and over again. But yeah, changing things up, using different colors, or this time I've painted a thinner version by just doing one brush stroke instead of two for each section of the leaf, so they're a bit thinner. And dabbing in some red into the end of each section. So now I'm just going to be painting some more kind of generic leaves using my C curves mirroring each other again, and I'm going to do a range of those across the page. I've done a red one and now I'm working on a little tiny orange one, dabbing in some red on the end, basically experimenting with the wet into wet technique, creating those really beautiful effects again. And if you're wondering how to paint these leaves, or like if I'm moving a little bit quickly for you again, I really do encourage you to go back and watch the brushstrokes video, because I go into a lot of detail on how to actually paint this shaped leaf. So yeah, if you feel like I'm moving too quickly, just go back and watch that video. It's linked in the video description here. So you can go back and just refamiliarize yourself with that and then have a go with these, and it will be much easier. So now I've actually just moved up to my size 4 brush while I was chatting, and I'm doing the same thing, the same technique, but just on a slightly bigger scale. So that's a size 4 brush I'm using now, again from my kit. And I'm doing the same thing again, wiggling my brush as I paint to make it lovely and imperfect, dabbing in some more of my red, and I'm dabbing it in at sort of both ends of the leaf and letting it bleed into the puddle of paint. I forgot how to speak, sorry. I've been painting all day. I'm now grabbing my yellow and some red on my brush to create a really lovely orange an orange shape, an orange color on my brush, and just painting that same leaf shape, dabbing in some more orange, getting creative, and just covering my page in autumn leaves. And I really encourage you to have a go